One of my mentors, Reverend Troy Perry, uses that line before he reads the sermon on love and greatness. Lord, bless this clay, maybe share your message, your wisdom and understanding for the given to us. Hey, buddy, got some change? I live in Uptown, neighborhood Chicago, that's just north of here. And according to the U.S. Census Bureau, it's the most ethnically and financially diverse neighborhood anywhere in Chicago. Not one day goes by while walking down Sheridan or on Argyle that someone says to me, got to change? Well, 12 years ago, when I became a regular visitor to this area from the suburbs, I was taken back. I wanted to help each one. My boyfriend at the time, who lived in the neighborhood, said, you'll run out of change in a heartbeat before we even made it to the market, the restaurant, to wherever we were going that day. I don't recall what time I thought, what actual change do these people need? What are they ultimately asking for? Sure, a quarter or a dollar, but in reality, what brought them, or most of us, to ask for change? Every one of us is all about change. Even at a church for me, we're about change. Now, I've visited dozens of MCCs around the country, and each one has its own personality, its own flavor, its own understanding, its consistency with other MCCs around the world. You'll see that if you ever attend one of our regional conferences or if you come to the upcoming World Jubilee in Acapulco in 2 years. The most visible part of any church is the worship service, where public worship, where people get together. Even with all the different backgrounds and regions of all that make up FCC, a typical Sunday service at most in our denomination has a very comfortable feel. Not here at Church for Me. And why? Because we are about change. Each Sunday there are people who have never been to our service or to another MCC before. Each Sunday we share new music, and our space has a new look too. Remember the schoolroom we had? We've even been different spaces here at the Center in Hallstead. Much like our denomination was new, not long after the first services were held in Reverend Perry's mom's living room, our mother church in Los Angeles had to move from one location to the next. When the theater or Legion Hall, whatever the venue, you realized, gasp, there were gay people who were there. They were asked to leave. Reverend Perry often jokes, if you missed a Sunday, you may not know when the church will meet next week. Yeah, they didn't know. He had to keep up. We were in the end, we wouldn't know we were meeting. Well, that makes our changing locations here at the Group 11 Theater and stage space more tolerable, doesn't it? We're not about a building or location, but a people of dreams, of gifts and desires and love. That change of a spirit such a church for me apart from other welcoming churches. Hey, mister, can you spare some change? If you realize your most cherished hopes and dreams, what would your choices be? Would they be for health and fitness, financial freedom, a better job, a loving partner? All good things you yearn are there simply for God as they speak to us, into your heart. There are no dreams too great to dream, no ambitious or goals too lofty to achieve. We have the inner version, wisdom and strength to create change in the life we want, the life we choose to believe. We are creative beings, and our God is always offering us creative ways that we can liberate ourselves. We all procrastinate now and then to some degree, but as in most areas of our lives, we choose to change this behavior the moment we decide to. We're the dead people and the things that we hold on to. In our scripture, when Matthew talks about the man who wanted to bury his father, Jesus implored him to let him be. Not to ignore his father, but there is a time to change and to move on. How many of us hang on to the dead in our lives? No, we're not the photos of friends or parents or partners or names in a quilt pen who were passed on. Well, those who had an influence in our lives, and maybe, just maybe, held us back from change. Too often, it's our own lives and relationships that keep us there. We can feel secure where we are. But if you hunger for love or a lover, first, learn to become your own. Date yourself. Romance yourself. Spend time comforting who you are. Turn off the TV, the radio, the iPod. When love begins with you, you will see that change in others around you. You may no longer demand from others the love and sustenance you should need or could give yourself. But while being secure in your own heart, secure in your own mind, secure in your own life, and being aware that when you know where change will come from, change can happen. Speaking of change, I want to read one of my favorite little modern fables. The story is set in the 1930s. It concerns a church verger, basically a maintenance person, called Mr. Mullins. Well, Mr. Mullins had been the church verger for over 15 years. And one day he was called in the church office. He was introduced to the new members of the church council, what they call our board of servants. Well, after introductions, he was asked to read the new procedures and instructions that had been introduced and sign that he had read them. He said, "I'm sorry, I've never learned to read or write." "What?" said the council members. "We can't have a verger who can't read or write." So he was dismissed. Well, Mr. Mullins had a few savings and lodged with the widow. Because he had now had time in his hands, he used to get under her feet. So she kicked him out during the day. Mr. Mullins had a lot of time to spend walking around the park. He liked to buy a hot dog every now and then from a street vendor. He was walking down and he realized he had some change in his pocket. He couldn't find a hot dog vendor anywhere. So he thought to himself, if he had problems finding a hot dog vendor, maybe other people have the same problem. So he took some of his savings and opened a small hot dog stand. The shop was very successful. Within a few years, he'd opened further shops in the neighborhood and all around the area. Ultimately 5 or 6 shops. During the time, he had married the widow who had helped him with the daily running of the business. So he was asked by his bank manager to come in and see him. He said, "Mr. Mullins, your account shows you have over $10,000. In 1930s, it's a lot of money. You have over $10,000 in available funds. You have the deeds to 5 shops and you own your own house. Your bank offers you better facilities. I'm prepared to draft up new accounts for you. Would you please read them and sign what you have read?" And Mr. Mullins said, "I'm sorry, sir. I've never learned to read or write." And the bank manager said, "My gosh, what would you be doing if you ever learned to read or write?" Be the church verger. Can you imagine that? Sitting in our seats every Sunday, hearing each different reflection, seeing each song can bring change in our communal lives. How often do we, myself included, stay in one role, accept what is indeed or can be? We can never feel more secure not to change, but when we do, oh, what a ride. As in the church for me, as we gather, we share our message, the naming of our board, all these things are changed from other churches, including most MCCs do. Like our lived sermons, church to me is that you and me is about changing our ideas, our concept of what church really means to us, and to the people we share this love with. Hey buddy, got some change? Another definition of change is loss. By changing our habits, our way of doing things, our location, we may feel lost of the old ways. I no longer doing what I was raised up to do. What I trained for is not what I'm doing now. I studied for a particular job, I'm not doing anything like that. Is that loss or is that change? And I've lived most of my life near my home in the suburbs, where I grew up, and only in the past 12 years or so I started to step away and come into the city and spend more time. That's a major change. Let's look at this a different way. One of my favorite bloggers online brought up this concept about loss and tried to turn it into change. Instead of using the word loss, he suggests use the word change. So one of the quotes he picked up from one of his readers, I experienced a big loss this week. My mom died. Becomes, I experienced a big change. My mom died. Being fired from my job was a great loss, translated to being fired from my job was a great change. My boyfriend dumped me. I feel there's a significant loss in my life now, morphing to my boyfriend dumped me. I feel a significant change in my life now. And a wise person said, nothing real dies. You can lose it, but it was an illusion to begin with. Your girlfriend, your friends, family, co-workers, they aren't any more real than the Easter Bunny, and they're significantly less real than the dreams you experience at night. Isn't that amazing? What a way to look at the world and use it. Change. Buddy, got some change? I can feel more secure in this than being lost and all those life about change. None of it is spare change now. Years ago, I gave a reflection to the congregation of Holy Covenant where I grew up, called Hope Defined. Mostly, it's a story about a young man who made changes in his life after changes were thrust on him. I call it Hope Defined because hope is what made Jason live. The changes in his comfortable suburban life were turned on edge one day, in one brief moment, when his mother discovered that Jason was queer. She literally threw him out the front door, saying, take anything you can into one trip, and don't even use the family name. He was disowned, disavowed. Gratefully, and with only 1 year of college, he had a few friends that took him in, were able to set him up with a job. When Jason told me this story, and why he changed his name to Jason Wonder, I was floored. Not because of his mother's action, but because of Jason's reaction, his desire to change. I never met a man who was more secure in change than Jason Wonder. At his memorial service, at age 27, Jason died of AIDS. His memorial service, his family wasn't there. His birth family wasn't there. His family of friends were there. The people who came to him after he was tossed out. Talk about change. Hey buddy, got some more change? Not lost, but real change that comes from the heart to the soul. Remember, life is for living and learning. Listen to your life and the lessons it offers. Ask yourself what choices, changes you must do to bring it forward. You can fully live and create creatively. You can claim the power to change, so why not claim it now? So I ask you, I admonish you to hear me. Hear the words in the song we'll sing during our offering. To live like a believer and give to the Lord. And as you heard in Luke's message earlier, we can live the dead, bury the dead, making changes, move on. Amen.